Right now, though, from Battle Creek Unlimited, been a little while since we visited with Joe Sobieralski. It's nice to see you. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's, well, there's always a lot of things going on in this community as a lot of people are rolling up their sleeves trying to get positive things to happen. And so we always enjoy having you come in here and tell us about some more.
Yeah, well, It's always a pleasure to be here to come and give an update.
And you gave kind of a big update, last Thursday for a breakfast just scheduled for that purpose, didn't you?
Yeah, Thursday was our annual economic outlook, and it was the 2019 economic outlook. And we do a couple of things. We talk about the past accomplishments of the year, and we talk about some of the things going forward. And Jim Roby from the Upjohn Institute comes and talks a little bit about their forecast from last year and then the forecast going forward.
Well, what did they have to say?
Well, they got the forecast wrong last year. It was still a pretty good year, and they're forecasting a little bit of a downtrend this upcoming year, but we'll prove them wrong on that front.
Yeah. How do they measure that sort of thing, basically?
All data-driven, you know, research, PhDs, University of Michigan, all of the research, and they kind of formulate trends in the market and all of the above, and it's kind of a shot in the dark, really.
I like the simple one that Mr. Long out of Grand Valley uses. I don't know if you've ever seen
I've seen that, yes.
He basically just calls purchasing managers from all the area manufacturers and stuff and says, what are you buying this week, or this month? Right. And if they're buying a whole bunch of widgets or materials for widgets, it goes to figure they're going to make some widgets.
Right. Next year's going to be good, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's usually pretty accurate and pretty positive guy. So I always like talking to him as well. I haven't talked to him in a while. We'll have to see what he says about that, too. But, it's kind of like radio ratings, too. We see these big radio ratings, and a lot of times, you take them with a grain of salt because really it's what's happening right here in our own neighborhood. Right. That's how we measure things.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of good things coming along. Some that we'd like to see move a little quicker, but a lot of things seem to be going on. What's the status downtown with BCU's involvement?
So those projects are progressing along. The status of downtown, as you know, we recently announced another RFP for some restaurateurs to enter the market in Battle Creek. That's active. That was announced in December, and it goes until March 22nd.
Is that $200,000 to what is the stipulation to get that $200,000?
Well, there's not a whole lot of stipulations. It's we want you to coexist in our community with other menus that are already available. So we don't want to create a environment where they're competing with already locally established restaurateurs, but. It was really established to say, do you have experience, number one, and number two, tell us how you need to utilize the funds to enter the market here in Battle Creek.
So, that seems like a good stipulation. A lot of people always dream of starting their own restaurant. It's not an easy thing. So, basically, Battle Creek Unlimited is saying, hey, we got this $200,000 here. If you can show that you've done it before and want to do it here, then we'll consider you. Right.
And we also... in the RFP, we put a spot in there for establishments that are already here in Battle Creek. We want everybody to take advantage of the momentum we've got going right now and tell us what you need or what you may need to take your business to the next level.
Sure, because if you already got a reputation in town for, in the community, in the greater community for doing a good job, and you want to open up another location, there you go.
Right, absolutely.
And we do have locations down there.
Yes.
Want to ask you about the Schranks building. I was down across the street to check out the Costa Rica and the kitchen, which is kind of a little incubator business that we talked to John Hart about.
Yep.
It's a little kitchen where businesses can move in there and give it a go, and if things are going good, then we hope to find them a brick and mortar location. I looked across the street. The Schranks building is kind of sad. Looks like one wall. The south wall's about to fall off of there.
Right.
And in the back, there's some of the older, or some of the well, I don't want to say the original wall, but the stuff they plastered on the outside of it's fallen off. It's looking in pretty rough shape. I held my camera high above the paper so that I could get a picture of the inside of it. I could see why that building's beyond being saved.
Right, and we're not looking to tear every building down in downtown, but this one we took a hard look at it. We've had some engineers look at it. We've had some construction companies look at it, and unfortunately, there was a building that was adjacent to it some years ago that was torn down. And as you can see, that I'll call it the south exterior wall is separating from the facility. And if you don't properly take down a historic or downtown building the way that they're built, when you backfill, it puts pressure against that outside wall and starts to crumble the foundation. So we're taking our time on this one. Unfortunately, it does have to come down for safety reasons. But we are very excited to market the site and get it redeveloped.
And taking it down, that'll be on BCU's nickel, and you'll have to reinforce the wall of that building that'll stay there. What are you hoping to be able? You say market it. What's the plan? What are you hoping to build there?
We're hoping to get some mixed use, new construction, mixed use with some housing involved. So, we're already talking to some folks. There's nothing set in stone, but it's a great location, and we want to get it back on the roll as quick as possible.
So it's possible we could still have another cafeteria in that spot and people living upstairs.
Absolutely.
And that would be great. And how tall a building? I mean, that's all got to be decided. But
is
there a vision though? Is this going to be like a high rise or just 5, 6 stories or 2 stories?
Anything's possible. I can tell you if it's residential, there's probably a certain count that they're looking for, so it'll probably be taller. If residential were to come along there, it'd probably be taller than what it's there, but it could be 3, 4, 5 stories. I don't know.
What's the latest on? Have you heard anything on New Holland and their progress?
So New Holland's project is progressing along. They had some bid work come in, so finalizing the capital stack and moving forward. I mean, there's been I talked about that at the Economic Outlook. There's been a lot of anticipation for New Holland coming to the market from locals, and I can tell you New Holland's excited to get going as well. But if you really take a step back and say we announced an RFP in December, we announced New Holland was coming April 20th, so May, 9 months later, I mean, they had to come up with engineered architectural plans. We had to finalize the sale. We had to get an OPRO. We had to get the district established. There's just been a lot going on behind the scenes to lead up to the point where we're close to being ready to launch. So a lot of work goes in behind the scenes of making these things happen.
Do they have a projected date that they're throwing around at all?
Still saying summer 2019, but anybody that's associated with construction projects knows that there can be delays. So we're crossing our fingers, and we're gonna help them get across that finish line as soon as possible.
Another exciting project down the street that BCU is involved in is the Record Box.
Right.
Are we any closer on that to finding out who the mystery brewery is?
We could be, and they'll announce on their own terms. But once the project gets further along in the construction process is probably when they'll feel comfortable enough announcing. But I can say last Thursday we did announce that the prior week on Valentine's Day, the federal government approved the federal historic tax credits for the Record Box. So that was the last piece of their capital stack. So they should be underway here within the next couple of weeks of construction.
Oh, excellent. That's great news. And, of course, we see the work being done on the Heritage Tower. That was in our history note. That building opened this date. Maybe it was yesterday's date, 1931.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And, and we were talking about it cost $1.7 million to build.
Now it's costing $30-some million to renovate.
Right. That's what Nico said. Yeah, and he figured out. I think he figured out what it would cost in today's dollars to build if it was $1.7 million in 1930. And it was 20-something, $28 million, something like that.
Wow.
So it's costing
amazing.
more to renovate than it would cost to build new in today's dollars. Of course, it's all different as far as construction costs go.
Right.
But. And we are talking with Joe Sobieralski from Battle Creek Unlimited. Before we shift away from downtown, you had a figure.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting figure, and we advertised it at the Economic Outlook. We talk about all these things that are going on downtown or plan to go on downtown, and it really puts it into perspective. But there is currently 330,000 square feet under construction or planned to be under construction here very shortly in downtown Battle Creek, which is a pretty significant number when you take a step back and look at it.
Yeah, and you consider the reverse of that is nothing going on at all except buildings falling down around us. So that's definitely positive momentum.
Absolutely,
yep.
Absolutely.
We'd like to see that. And really, Battle Creek Unlimited is kind of helping out downtown, really. I mean, your main focus has been the Fort Custer Industrial Park for many, many years now. And somebody told me that, and maybe you said this in your economic outlook, I don't know, but because I was here, it couldn't be there. But I think that we're pretty much full up out there in terms of property. I mean, everything that's available is being used, right?
Absolutely. So when you talk about existing buildings, most of it's absorbed. If we were to take a look back a year ago, I would attribute this a little bit to the medical marijuana scenario, and it really created some movement on the industrial real estate front. And one building was absorbed by somebody that we believe is going to start a medical marijuana operation, but that started the domino effect where some of the other buildings were absorbed for traditional uses. And recently, Torishima Pump is locating in Battle Creek. They're absorbing a large portion of the old Clyde Union Pump building, and that really only leaves us with one facility to have any movement on, which they have folks leasing the space out as well. So we're down to it's new construction to get more additional space out in the fort.
I'm trying to remember my Battle Creek history, but it seems like way back when we were first, getting the industrial park going, that somebody actually built a couple of factories and said, okay, we have built it. Will they come? And they did.
Right. So I believe that was Associated Construction. They were kind of known for doing some speculative building when the fort first started. And that's something that we're exploring at the current moment. A lot of economic development organizations are exploring it. In the bigger markets, they've been successful in the last handful of years coming out of the recession, and I think it's starting to hit communities of our size as well.
So it's possible that BCU could spearhead a spec building out there at the fort?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what are those typically like? Just big warehouses, or?
Yeah. They kind of look like a warehouse, but they're depending on what size. You could do a spec building at 50, 60,000 square feet, or you could do one at 100 or 150,000. The larger ones are designed to be multi-tenant, so that if somebody only needs 50,000 square feet, you just put up a common wall and you put them in there.
Throw a couple shrubs out front for marketing.
Right.
And well, good. If we built those, would they be in the new area that we opened up there out across from the truck stop, or would they be somewhere else?
Could be anywhere on any of the land that the TIFA owns. It could be on one of the new sites. It could be out 94. There's several sites that could be considered for that.
And you mentioned the T word, TIFA. In fact, the way the state has, kind of, when they did away with the personal income tax exemption, kind of left our city government a little bit short, and that had to do with TIFAs and everything. But we have benefited greatly from capturing these tax funds in TIFA districts in our community economically. I wondered maybe you could just kind of explain that a little bit for people that are concerned about it. You hit the nail on the head. The TIFA has done wonders for this community. When you take a look back, what has been accomplished over the past 40 years, and you see that it has generated
nearly $5 billion of economic output on an annual basis, has successfully diversified our economy into other industries beyond the cereal industry. And it's created 13,600 jobs that pay an average of $52,000 a year. Those are huge numbers. But if you want to take a look back at what's happening to local governments throughout the state, revenue sharing's down from the state. Personal property, while good for businesses, it affects local governments as well. And it will affect the likes of TIFs throughout the state as they're not collecting taxes on personal property, which if you were to take a 10,000-foot view of any industrial park or any city, your industrial property or your personal property is more valuable than your real bricks and mortar property.
Well, let's we'll be grateful for that. I mean, it's unfortunate that our city government's got a bit of a shortfall, but they're dealing with that the best they can, and hopefully the state will be able to give them an accurate number that they have to deal with coming forward, and then we'll be able to work all of that out. But some exciting things coming up, and always good to hear from you, Joe, and keep up the good work out there.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Look forward to coming back. Thanks, Tim.
Joe Sobieralski, Battle Creek Unlimited.